What's up guys, and welcome back to Software Audio Solutions, and today we're talking about Players Unknown Battleground, commonly known as PUBG. PUBG released their latest update, which is Season 23. Right now at this very moment, a lot of people are experiencing FPS loss, stutters in their game, lag in their game, and just an overall shit gameplay experience. Today I'm going to show you what you can do to have a better gameplay experience, and just overall have a competitive advantage over your enemies. Alright, so the first thing I highly recommend you go ahead and do is this over here. You are going to go ahead and make sure that you have the latest graphics card driver installed on your machine. Please go ahead and check for updates on your GPU drivers if you are an AMD user or an NVIDIA user. You need to stay up to date on your GPU drivers. From here, what I recommend you go ahead and do is go to your start button over here, go to settings, and then go to update and security. I highly recommend that you keep your Windows up to date. It's very important to go ahead and do this. If you are a Windows 10 user or a Windows 11 user, please go ahead and update your Windows drivers. From here, you're going to click on the home button and go to privacy. Scroll all the way down and go to background apps. From here, you're going to turn this from on to off, so it doesn't use resources in the background like your RAM, your CPU, and also your VRAM usage. Please go ahead and turn all of these things off. If you are a Windows 11 user, it's much more complicated, and you have to individually disable each and every one of the things that's running in the background. Some of you might have more things inside here or less things inside here. I don't recommend putting this on. You do not need it on, you do not need it to run in the background and use resources. From here, you're going to click on the home button, and then you're going to go to gaming mode over here, and then you're going to go game mode. From here, you're going to keep game mode on. It is highly recommended right now for the latest season, for 23, for PUBG. Right? It does actually increase FPS if you switch game mode on for PUBG right now. Please go ahead and switch this on. It doesn't matter if you're an AMD user or an NVIDIA user, go ahead and switch this on. From here, you're going to go to graphics settings, and you're going to go to hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. Now, some people might tell you that you need to switch this on. I don't recommend that you switch this on for the latest season. It actually gives you stuttering inside the game. Please go ahead and turn this off. If you have PUBG inside here, I do recommend removing it. All you need to do is just click on it itself, or any game inside here like PUBG, click on it and then click on the remove button on the right hand side. From here, you're going to close out of this, and then we're going to do this. Alright, so the next step I highly recommend you go ahead and do that plays a very big role on your game itself is just right click on your desktop and open up an NVIDIA control panel. And once NVIDIA control panel is opened, this is what you're going to need to do. You're going to go to adjust image settings with preview, and then go here where it says use the advanced 3D image settings and click on take me there. It's basically just going to take you over here where it says manage 3D settings. You're going to select the global version. The reason why I say select global is because this is going to help you for every single game you are going to be playing, not just PUBG. So all you're going to need to do is just copy all of my settings I have inside here, and then just pause the video, copy every single thing I have inside here, and you should be good to go. Trust me on this. All you need to do is copy these settings. These settings are holding up for every single game out there right now that is being played right now at this very moment with all its latest updates. Every single game that has its latest updates, this is holding up for 2023. Please go ahead and copy every single thing I have inside here. You can just pause the video and copy everything inside here. From here, you're going to go to config, surround, and physics, and make sure you have your dedicated GPU selected. Not auto select, not CPU, your dedicated graphics card, and say apply. Once you're done with that, you're going to go to adjust desktop color settings and come inside here. I highly recommend that you just copy my settings as is. It does make the game pop a lot more, and you'll see your trees look better and your overall visibility in the game look much better. If you have your contrast at 65 and you have your digital vibrance all the way from 75 upwards, you can try 100%. I have mine at 95 and it's my sweet spot for my gaming. I highly recommend you go ahead and do this, and once you have changed these things inside here, go ahead and apply it. It will flash a few times, don't worry, it's just applying the settings to your NVIDIA control panel. Alright, let's jump straight into the game. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I'm in my game right now, and it is Season 23. It is a beautiful season for PUBG right now at this very moment. So all you're going to need to do is go to this little gear icon over here, and then go to settings, and then I highly recommend you go over the basics first. Obviously, this is your language, that's your own personal preference. This over here, highlight auto capture, I highly recommend disabling this. It literally tells you what it does on the right hand side, so it's your own personal preference if you do want to enable it or not. I disable mine, I don't use it. Right now at this very moment, I highly recommend playing your game in full screen mode. It doesn't matter what resolution you're playing your game at, please go ahead and put this at full screen so you can get less input latency inside the game and stutter overall. The reason why I can't put this at full screen is because this is what happens when I apply full screen to my OBS recording. This is how it looks. It makes the screen dull, as you can see. So I have to record this in borderless. I don't know why this is a thing with OBS, but unfortunately, this is a thing with OBS. Okay, so I do recommend putting this at full screen. I highly recommend it. You're going to play your game at its resolution of your monitor or your laptop display or whatever display you are currently running. It can be a 720p, 1080p, 1440p, 2K, 4K, whatever your resolution is right now, go ahead and select that resolution. My lobby FPS cap, a lot of people do prefer their own lobby FPS cap. I have mine on both on unlimited. Go ahead and do that. You do not need to cap your FPS. Alright? Smooth frame rate, disable this. You do not need this. Overall brightness, this is just your brightness for your game inside the game. I do recommend pushing it up a bit. Don't have it at its defaults because there's lots of dark corners you can't see your enemies from, especially if you scoped in. I highly recommend going to about 85 or 80 at your own personal preference depending on your display. Universal brightness for all maps, enable this. I highly recommend you go ahead and do this, okay? Then from here you're going to go to the advanced option and you're going to come inside here. Right now at this very moment, if you are running a mid-tier to a high-end gaming machine, I highly recommend that you put your game at the render scale at 120. If you are running a very low-end machine and you want overall performance and you need that FPS, then scroll all the way down to about 100 over here on this render scale. You should be good to go and your game will run much better. It won't look the best, but you can try it out. If it doesn't look the best and you're still getting enough FPS, then I do recommend going all the way to 120. Alright, so first person camera FOV, which is field of view, I have mine at 103, which is the highest it can go to. That's the reason why I'm putting it on like that, is because I want to see more on my left and right hand side. So overall quality, I highly recommend you put this on custom right now at this very moment. If you are running a really high-end or mid-tier gaming machine, you can go with medium here. You could also go up to about ultra or high. I don't recommend it, so I do recommend medium on this one over here. Post-processing, I highly recommend that you go ahead and turn this all the way down to low or very low if you need more FPS out of your game and you're struggling with FPS. I have a 9700K, an RTX 2060 OC, and 16 gigs of RAM. Every single thing of my components inside my machine has been overclocked, so I can run this at ultra with no problem whatsoever with my current machine. But I don't recommend putting this at ultra. I really don't. So I would rather put mine either on medium or on high with my machine, but if you have a lower generation machine, go with low or very low. Shadows has a big impact on the game, a huge impact on FPS. Please go ahead and put this at very low. Textures always at ultra. If you can push that, go with ultra or go with high. Don't go with low on this. Don't put it lower. Your game's going to look like dog shit and you don't want that. So either high or ultra if your machine can handle ultra. Effects, very low. You really do not need to see the effects in the fucking game. You honestly don't need to. Foliage plays a very big role inside this game with FPS. I do recommend bumping this down if you're struggling with FPS inside this game. My machine runs this perfectly fine on ultra. As you can see here on the right hand side, it actually shows you a preview of what you can see and how far you can see the trees. Right? So if I turn this down, if I start turning it down, things are going to start going away. So, I do recommend that you play around with this either on very low, low, or medium. You really do not need to push this up to ultra. If your machine can handle it, go ahead and put it on ultra. If your machine can handle it. I don't recommend it, so rather just go with medium, or low, or very low. From here, you're going to go to view distance. This also plays a role on your FPS. So you're going to go all the way down so you can see less. Now, the reason if you see less on here, if you put it at low, you will get more FPS in your game. But what will happen is once you are playing and you scoped in, the objects won't render in from a very far distance, which is a good thing because you can actually then see your enemies much, much easier. So it is actually a good thing to put this at low, and I highly recommend doing this. Go to sharpen and enable this. It's a very important step inside this game to have this enabled. VSync is only there for screen tearing, so if your game is literally like tearing itself apart and it looks like that, then you are going to need to enable this. It will also cap your FPS to the screen's refresh rate, so if you're running a 60, 120, I don't know, 75, 144, 240 Hertz monitor, it will cap it at that FPS. So then you will do that specific FPS if you are getting screen tearing. If you're not experiencing screen tearing at all while playing, disable this. You do not need this. Motion blur, never have this enabled. It actually makes things worse for you and you can't see enemies that's hiding over there because once you turn around this corner, things around you are going to blur. You do not need that and your enemies are going to have an advantage over you. So go ahead and turn this off so you can actually then see your enemies standing wherever they are standing, please go ahead and turn this off. The DirectX version, I do not recommend putting this up. Please don't put this up. You do not need to do that. If you're already struggling with FPS inside this game, don't push this up. Leave it at DirectX 11 and you should be good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, if this worked for you, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new here, and as always, peace out.